Hi everyone, we're back with some awesome tips for you. Today, we're gonna get a little philosophical. Now, those of you that know me know that I like philosophy quite a bit. And so, it sounds deep, right? Talking about things like trust and loyalty. Sounds like we're having some sort of counseling session, maybe even relationship counseling, right? But in the end, if you really think about it, it's not that weird. And it's not that different from what we do every day. You know, it's very easy to get, to divide everything into neat little boxes. You know, like back in the day, when I was like a boy, we used to have to go to stores and buy CDs to get music, right? And it always amused me of how every CD that was ever in the store was in a particular section, and the section was clearly labeled, right? This is the pop section, and then you'll go over to the next side, and this is the rock section, and this is the jazz section. And it always amazed me, and I always wonder, how do they even determine some of these? Now, some musical selections are obvious what they are, right? Whether they're pop or rock or metal, for example. But there are other artists and there are other styles that may not be as obvious. And that always amazed me, like, how do you even pick that? And then, does that have an effect in the psyche of the person who's buying it, right? If they find a particular artist, maybe an artist that they don't know, and they see it in the pop section, would they think, oh, well, no, I don't listen to that because I don't listen to pop, right? Well, what is pop or what is rock, right? So when we talk about these other things like business and marketing, again, that's a label for a series of things that we might not even understand what they are. We might not even care what they are. But we do care about these. So when you think about it, there will always be principles. And these principles are everlasting and are applicable to all kinds of things. Now we can go really deep on this and talk about the psychological ramifications, the psychological origins of these things, at least as far as we know. But it's not necessary, and I tell you why it's not necessary. Have you guys, one of my favorite movies of all time, now I'm not a big movie person, especially lately I haven't been watching movies very much just because of lack of time, but one of my favorite movies of all time has to be The Godfather, right? You guys have seen The Godfather? So in The Godfather, let me make a tangent here. In The Godfather, of course, it's an adaptation of, I think his name is Mario Puzo, the guy that wrote the book. But for a lot of people, it's one of the best movies of all time, right? Now, the first scene is a remarkable scene. It's actually straight from the book, if you read it. And it has so much social complexity. I don't know if you guys remember the scene, but I'll summarize it for you. So basically, this guy, Bonacera, goes to the Godfather, and I think it's his daughter, or his daughter's wedding day, or the Godfather's daughter's celebration, some kind of party, right? And he goes to the Godfather's house to ask for a favor, okay? And this is how the book, everything is set up. It's just brilliant. It really is. So the Godfather is sitting there, right, in his chair, and Bonacera comes to ask a favor. And the favor is his daughter got beat up by her husband, and I think her husband or boyfriend, and a friend. And like really beat up. And then they were taken to court, and the judge just gave him like probation, like some kind of light sentence, and just let them go. So Bonacera is super, he feels humiliated. And he goes to the Godfather to ask for justice. Right? And so the dialogue, I can't quote it off the top of my head, not quite anyways, But it's very interesting how Bonacera comes to him and says, "So I need a favor, or I need you to deliver this help for me." And so the Godfather is sitting there in his chair. You can Marlon Brando, right? You can see him sitting down in the chair like that, and Bonacera comes to his ear and whispers something to his ear. Now we don't know what it is, but we can guess he wants him killed, or he wants him whatever, right? And so the Godfather starts going. He says, "Why are you asking me this thing? You cultivate a relationship with me. You never thought to say hi to me. You never thought to like we don't have nothing between us, and you come to me in my daughter's celebration, and with this, asking me to do this for you. If you were be friends with me, those guys would already be suffering right now." And so Bonacera says something like, "Well, I didn't want to get in trouble." And then he says, "Man, I just don't understand what I did to you to deserve this." And then Bonacera says, "How much should I pay you? And I want them dead." And so he says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, I want justice." And he says, "Well, that's not justice, because your daughter's still alive." And then he says, Bonacera says, "Well, at least I want them to suffer." And so he says, "What did I do to deserve such disrespect?" And so he goes and kneels down to the Godfather, kisses his hand, and calls him Godfather. And so he says that he will give them deliver this justice for him as a gift in the day of his daughter's celebration. And that's how the whole movie, the whole book is set up, right? Now, this is a sort of if you don't think about it, it just almost seems like, well, yeah, that's the scene, that's how he goes. But think about all the things that take place in that scene that we all intuitively, and this is the key, intuitively we understand everything. We understand why Bonacera never wanted to get in with a mafia don. Why? Because, asking for favors from a mafia don has a certain, caveats. And he knows that you don't just accept a favor. Doesn't come from a mafia guy. Doesn't come with a tag. It comes with a chain of things, right? And we understand this. All these incredibly complex social dynamics intuitively. So we don't even need to discuss the origins of why humans, may need or may not need to build trust. We know it's there, right? So the principles that I'm talking about are things like trust, are things like loyalty, are things like honesty, are things like friendship, love, friendship. So these are the things, right? Now, what do these have to do with business? Well, the answer is, of course, everything. Everything. They have everything to do with business. Now, let me give you a practical example, right? I could go like really super wide, but it is important to get a 30,000 foot view of what we're doing, and then we could look at a specific example and see how it applies to these things. Now, I'm going to be posting this video in this group that I created. I created this group on Facebook for the particular niche that I'm helping in digital marketing, so that I can sort of share my insight and what I'm learning as I'm working. So I'm going to be posting that there. You guys get first look at. But what I'm going to talk about is this email marketing. Now, this may seem like, oh my gosh, Gabe, you just went on this huge tangent for this. And the answer is, if you think that way, then you have divided the pop section and the rock section. And you dare not even fathom the possibility that they might be an artist that releases an album with one rock track, purely rock track, and then the other ones being country, or the other ones being rap, or who cares, right? You have fallen into the trap of labeling. And labeling, remember, it's only helpful when it helps you, right? It helps you find the right album. It helps you find the rice from the bread, from the vegetables at the grocery store, right? That's the only way in which labeling is a generalization. That's all it is, okay? So, but when you do anything in business, you got to keep in mind that really the underlying principles, and the underlying principles is trust, and so or loyalty. So, how does email marketing have to do with these other concepts? Well, very simple, very simple. Really, all marketing, but I'm going to talk about email marketing because I want to talk about this thing called an autoresponder. Now, some of you guys already might know what that is, and you might use it, and that's great. This is for the people who don't use it, because I do find a lot of people not even having an idea about this. But what email marketing is, and what all marketing is, it creates trust. And so the principles will come back. And how does, you might think to yourself, no, Gabe, it doesn't create trust. I don't trust Colgate over Crest. And I'm here to tell you that you do. I'm here to tell you that these underlying principles work in parts of our mind, in parts of our clients' minds that are literally inaccessible. Inaccessible to us and inaccessible to they themselves. This is why this is so powerful. It takes on average about 7 times for someone to see you and to think that you're familiar, to begin to trust you, right? And if you guys ever been to a car dealership and bought a car, you've seen this happen, right? The salesman takes you to a place and then he offers you some coffee, right? He says, would you like some coffee? Would you like, caffeine, by the way, also helps. That's a different kind of bias, a chemical bias. But really his goal when he says, can I offer you some, would you like a glass of water, bottle of water, what else do you want? What do you want? His real goal for that salesman is to go away and return. Why? Because when he does that, in your subconscious mind, that counts for 2 times that you've seen the guy. And then maybe it gets hot, or maybe he needs to, this is the perfect one. I know you've seen this one. I have to go ask the sales manager about see if the deal is okay. And he goes and comes back, right? That's 3 times. And they will keep on doing it. As a matter of fact, you can use this in dating if you like. You go out of the scene, out of sight of the person, then you come back. And it takes about 7 times for it to happen. Now, this is what brands are doing. They want to be present. They want to be seen constantly, in and out, in and out. That creates trust. If you see one person one time that you've never seen before, right? Maybe he knocks in the door at 10 p.m., right? Would that trigger some alarms? Yes, it would, right? Also depending on how he's dressed and all that, right? If it's, the old lady neighbor that I have, maybe not so much, right? But those are other elements. So how does email marketing have to do with this? Well, it's because in our business, one of the things that we want to create is we want to create loyalty. Right? One of the toughest business you can ever be in is one where you have to get a new customer every single time. These businesses, they're a literal headache. I mean, if you're a dentist who removes wisdom teeth, right? There's only so many wisdom teeth you can remove from a single client. And then they're fresh out of wisdom teeth. And you have to find somebody else, right? Now, you can balance that with, a pricing structure and different things like that. But, and there'll always be people who need this procedure done, so that might not be, terribly bad. But you get the idea, right? If you had to only buy Coca-Cola one time in your whole life, Coca-Cola's business will be a lot less profitable than it is, right? As a matter of fact, I don't know if you guys know, but Coca-Cola for a very long time, a lot of their marketing, a lot of their branding was towards younger people, like teens and preteens, right? Now on the surface, that might not seem like a really good idea. Really, you should market to adults because they can buy, you know, a 12 pack or 24 pack, you know, every week or every other week. I haven't drank Coke in years, so like I'm just thinking how much sugar that is, and that's the crazy amount of sugar. But a lot of people do that, right? And so, why are they marketing to the younger crowd and not to the older crowd with more money? Well, it's because they know that the younger crowd will maybe only buy one Coke, but it will do it with more constancy, with more loyalty than somebody who's older that might, you know, buy beer instead of Coke, right? Might have other things, right? So this is the reason. Now, talking about an autoresponder. Now, in the group, I'm not gonna do this on my personal Facebook. I don't know. Maybe I should do it, but in the group that I'm doing, I'm going to show you guys how to set up an autoresponder. Responder. Now, this is, you know, the popular ones are like MailChimp. That's a really good one. Aweber is a good one. iContact, some people use. There's another one that just came out not too long ago, but I forget if it's mail.io. Check on that. Double check me on that. I'm not sure. But anyways, these are the ideas. So why is this important? Because a lot of the guys in my particular niche, I know, they don't have a customer list. You need to have a list of people that you do business with. Everyone knows that a customer that you already have is a lot cheaper than a customer that you yet do not have. So you want to market to those. But the problem with a lot of times, especially in the niche that I'm servicing, but really in a lot of others as well, is that there's so many things to do. There's just so many variables. There's so many problems to solve. Sometimes, so many fires to put out every day, that we don't have the time to think about all these things. But this is probably have to be one of the most important things. Right now, I'm sure you guys have heard, the saying, work on your business, not in your business, right? And this is sometimes easier said than done, because sometimes a lot of the guys that I talk to are actually like the owners of the place, and it seems they do everything. But please do not make this mistake. You have to delegate. You have to, the only way to be more productive, right? Just think about it. We have 24 hours a day. If you sleep for 8 hours, you got 16 hours left. Everybody in the world has the same amount of hours, from the richest to the poorest person. Same amount of hours. How can you actually, be more productive? Well, of course, there's a certain things you could do, right? Maybe time management. You can organize yourself better, schedule, be really strict, all those things. But in the end, you can only make those 16 hours more productive. You can't have 17 hours, 18 hours. You can't have 25 hours in a day or 30 hours in a day. But there is a way in which you can, which is through delegation. Through delegation, you effectively buy time. So definitely do that. So definitely get an autoresponder. I can show you guys in the group how to set that up. Let's talk about this customer list. It's very important. Now, some of you guys already are working with CRMs. CRMs are customer relation management systems. There's a ton of them, different ones out there. HubSpot just came out with one that's free. It looks kind of promising. Looks like, right? So CRMs, and so really you need to be in using these, because in CRMs you'll be able to have names, addresses, and emails. You want to have as many things about your client as possible, and you want to market to these. Now, a lot of us, when we hear email marketing, the first thing we think is like, oh, these annoying emails that we get all the time, right? And then we're looking for the unsubscribe link and try to unsubscribe. Don't think about that, okay? Because this goes, without saying, and this is, of course, back to the principles, right? Back to the loyalty, back to the trust. Who is your client? Do you know your client? See, a lot of people who do email marketing, like for like affiliate products and things like that, there are a lot of those people like to receive a ton of emails a day because they're using those things to maybe leverage other, you know, other businesses. They buy those products online, they resell them locally, whatever the way that they're doing it, right? So a lot of those people are. So you got to know your client, you got to know your customer. What are they like, right? I can tell you that in the niche that I work in, a lot of these people will appreciate, you know, just to check back. You know, for example, I do some email marketing, not very much, because I know my clients are very busy. I know that they have a ton of things to do, but I want to be present in their mind. I want to go grab a cup of coffee and come back, so to speak, so that they see me a couple times and they're like, yeah, they begin to like me a little more. They begin to trust me a little more. And then I can build on that client loyalty, because that's what you want. No, don't get a one-time client. You want to have one client that, you know, buys 1,000 times from you. Okay, that's what you want. So that's email marketing, guys. Definitely use that. I'll in the group I'll be posting maybe a how-to video if you guys want. Now, if you guys are already doing it, definitely, you know, keep doing that. Keep exploring what your client is like, what they appreciate the most. Definitely keep track of some of the things that I like to do is run statistic studies, so to speak, at least testing on really how many unsubscribe and, you know, all these, you know, so that I can start to gauge, you know, what is enough, or what is too much, what is too little contact that they would appreciate. Sometimes, you know, I get sent emails and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, but I don't have time to respond right away. And then I have to be scrolling back to, where was that email that person sent me? So I would have appreciated at some point for them to, you know, reach back out to me and go, oh, you know, X, Y, Z. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I was thinking about this. So this could really revolutionize your business. If you don't have a customer list, if you don't even know who your customers are, like, this is like so important. And I know so many people in the niche are not doing this. And so definitely do that. Build an email list. There are a ton of ways of building email lists. Do not buy emails, okay? Do not buy email lists. Do not buy email lists. If I could spell buy emails, okay? This is not a good way to do it. And you know, you don't want to. There are ways to mess up here, okay? This is not like the early days in the internet. It's not like that anymore. People have a lot more control. You will get a lot of unsubscribe, and you get, you know, it'd be a mess. So don't do that. Really build it from your clients. If you have a physical location, ask people for their email. Oh, here's another tip before I forget, and just to close up. So you're gonna get email lists. You're gonna get information from your clients, sure, because maybe they're your clients and maybe you want to service them and you just want to check with them, or you want to send them the invoice, so you need all this information from them. That's great. However, if you're just going to ask for emails out of the blue, give them something. Why should I give you my email? Right? I know how many emails I get. I'm not just going to give it out to everybody. So why should I give it to you? But if you give me a reasonable thing, right, an offer of some sort, then I'm gonna be like, yeah, that's definitely worth my email. And if they start spamming me, then I can unsubscribe. So definitely do that. I was gonna talk about some other stuff, but I'm gonna leave it for the next video, I think. So thank you guys. Don't forget, think about principles. And really, when we talk about principles, we're really talking about human principles. Human principles that apply for everything. And this is why, you know, somebody was telling me, why do you always compare this with like relationships, like couples and like dating? Because it's the same thing. As a matter of fact, one of the coolest ways you can learn about marketing and sales and business and life is through relationships. Because it's very hard to find a bond like that in any other kind of human activity. That's the closest, one of the strongest bonds of trust, loyalty, between two human beings. So how does that happen? How does a person come to trust someone, sometimes someone that doesn't even deserve to be trusted, right? It sort of defies logic. Well, because these principles are in effect. Have you ever heard the expression, oh yeah, I don't love him or her, but I'm so used to them, right? People get used to their relationship. Why? Because of that contact that happened for such a long time. It builds a bond that might not even be healthy, but is there, and it's psychologically entrenched in the person's mind. So again, human principles. It goes back to principles. If you go to a grocery store and you see a brand of toothpaste that's not Colgate or Crest, you never heard of them before, you're like, okay, no, I'm just gonna grab this, right? Most of the time you'll grab the one that you've seen before. Why? It's trust, man. It's what it is. We are humans. We are emotional at the core. We like to think we're logical, but we're not. We are emotional, and that controls a lot. So if we start knowing these things about ourselves, then definitely we need to know that as far as our clients, as far as our prospects, as far as our the people that we deal with in a day-to-day basis, that's exactly the same way they are. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Keep those comments coming. I get a lot of feedback, and I'm glad to know that a lot of you are finding this very helpful. I'm going to post this in the group, of course, in my personal profile. If you guys want to tag anybody that could use this information, and I like to just share because it helps me to learn it that much more. Okay, so you guys have a good one, and we'll see y'all later. Okay, bye-bye.